Hey, Steve, Andy, what happened on Tuesday?
Hello there. To a minor turnaround Tuesday as usual. We'll get into that. Hello, Andy. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Scott. Hello, everybody out there.
All right. Let's get started with the Trade of the Week webinar. Can't believe another week has come and gone so quickly. Just a quick reminder, as our a software company, and Andy and myself are the longest time users there are around here. We're going to share a few things with you, but anything you see or hear should not be construed as financial advice, of course. It's all our opinion. And so with that out of the way, just a reminder, this is a 17-year since Barry's live trading room every day from bell to bell. These webinars that we're doing right now, and even the afternoon daily support session every day at 12 p.m. Eastern. Click into that. If you just been there to field questions, there's no agenda. Like today's webinar has a bit of an agenda, but the afternoon webinars do not. We're just sitting there waiting for Q&A to demonstrate some of the things the new users might be looking for. So we're here to try and really onboard people as quickly as we can. It's not something you can learn in a few days. We really recommend taking advantage of the promo codes we offer and trying it for a first month. If after 30 days you don't really see the value, then you don't have to renew. But you know, the data is showing us on the back end here that people are loving the product as more and more attention has been coming to the markets for sure. So we'll get started today with some agenda-driven content. As I mentioned, I'd just like to remind everybody that you know, a good theme for my webinar is humans and machines combined. That's where the real power is. It's not one or the other. The machines are great, but you can't turn your back on them and expect them to do all the work for you. The machines are great at giving us a curated data set which the humans can turn around and act upon. And that's not something that we had as early as 10 years ago, and that's literally the future that we're all stepping into now, whether it's in technology, healthcare, business, financial. It's going to be the way of the future. We're going to have to marry up with these things. And so Trade Ideas is a great machine to marry up to help curate the data. I mean, let's face it, the market is a giant fire hose of about 8,000 stocks coming at you. There's many different ways to look at the market and try and parse it and figure out how to make it work for you. Whether you're a fast-paced trader trading low-float stocks, quickly getting in and out for quarters, or you're a swing trader like myself and Andy, looking for that nice day and a half move. This is a program that can help tweak and refine exactly what it is you're looking for. So you've come to the right place. Just another August slow summer doldrums kind of a trading market with a major drift higher, as we'll see in a second. So a few items we'll talk about today. We've got kind of a summer light lineup for you as well here. I'll go over the market recap. Not much has changed since yesterday. Kind of a slow day in the AI, nothing really to write home about, but Andy might have a couple thoughts on that quickly. We'll come back and we'll talk about the trade of the week, which is the namesake of the webinar, how it was derived, how we found it, to try and help you guys as well. Maybe, you know, use the product to circle in and hone in on a good setup. And a few thoughts on First Solar. We'll be remiss if we don't talk about that, which was last week's trade of the week, which technically did not fire. I want to go into some theory trading, which is, as I said, Andy and myself trade exactly the same style. We've literally been kind of sitting on the same desk since 1998. We both started off scalping, intraday, getting in, getting out against other human beings, pressing buttons and trading in fractions, a completely different market that we have today. So we made the switch to something that we called swing scalping about 10 years ago. We'll talk a little bit about that, give some real world examples as well. I've got some alerts and some ideas that we can set. We'll take a look at last week's alerts and ideas that were given out, and then any time left over. All right, so let's get started on, look at that little close there in the S&P, quite the closing candle. With this orange, which was all-time highs before the COVID 20%. Dave might be one of the more wiser and as to anytime soon. We look at them again, going out on. So again, like I bring this mark online, what it is, car buying. Again, you don't want to fight this. You know, we've tried there and we tried. The zombie just gets at us.
That's eventually macro events that can you can pull these up while I'm calling them out. And
yep.
then That being said, gauge inflation, oil and consumer, there's definitely inflation out there like this.
Both know the way price action works, going down into price action, and this is the biggest, juiciest retest there is out there right now. Down.
Right. And they get determined to fulfill that.
Fears.
Add to that. Let's see. I'll grab it. Kind of dragging my feet based on if you buy 100 shares alert to trade. And I'm going to take the 3 winners today, and then I'm going to take the 3 bottom losers, and we're kind of just going to kind of look at them and see if it's something. I'll tell you whether I would have taken the trade or not. Why not? And then you can take it. That is in this chart because and just kind of went sideways through 50, 60 cents to the up here. You'll see, and that's its next level of resistance. And there's not any resistance to keep it from doing. Example right there. I would have taken something like this. The reason why, even though it's in a downtrend, once again, out of a 6-month high, 1-year high, but a lot of times these next level can tell you where a stock may be going before, and I wouldn't be surprised if it maybe gaps up to the same level tomorrow, because this is your next level of resistance, and it almost got there today. All right, now let's look at some losers here, the 3 losers. CERN. Well, I'm just going to flat out and tell you this one. I wouldn't buy this one. I mean, it was called the 5. Sure, it broke through it. No, it did. So for me to have a reversal, it needs to take out yesterday's high. So this would be off the board for me, even though it's statistically back tested probably well, and most of these patterns will go and take out that high. In this case, it didn't. So I would have maybe put an alert in there to see if it took out that high, put a price alert. Guess it's something like this, because it's definitely in a downtrend below its moving averages. Groupon. That's a tough one. Maybe for a swing trade, but this one right here is a tough one for me because it didn't work. The buy was near highs. Let's draw a line, and it was still in a lot of congestion right there. I would rather see it, for something like this, maybe at least above this level, or even still, maybe this may be an idea for a swing trade because you are bouncing above your 10 and your 20 period in 2 days in a row now. But for a day trade, for me, the volume wasn't there. Look at the relative volume. So just things I look at, if I'm looking for I do all swing trading now, but nonetheless, for a day trade, yeah, I probably wouldn't have taken that. Swing trade, maybe. Rambus, probably not. This was early in the morning, 8:36. Most of you guys who know me know that I don't like to take an entry unless it's just a beautiful chart, a breakout, a gap and go, kind of like you saw in SEDG today. This is the kind of thing I may take an early entry on, although it did pull back at the close. It's on an all-time high, and there was your gap and go this morning. So really nice, geez, what was that, about a $12 move or even more? Geez, almost a $20 move. So that looks a whole lot different than this, okay? So this was a gap down, but once again, I would rather see it, falling below this level right here, for me to jump in. And just giving you some guys, it's right in the middle of no man's land for me. So statistically, it probably works out on the back test and the optimization and all that, but it just didn't follow through. It was an earnings play that just didn't get to where it needed to go to really fall apart. All right, so Steve, I just kind of wanted to do a lesson. Other than that, you can see here on conservative mode, about a split as far as winning percentage goes, about the same for the moderate, but nothing to write home about today.
It's about as good an analysis you can get with that list.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, that's true. All right, sending it back over.
All right, Red Rover. All right, so I'm going to start with the trade I've done here, as I have Zoom. This is the beautiful flag here at 64. It left our trigger high and dry up here, and we're on third day now. Last week, we just basically scrapped the trade. If it doesn't trigger in the first 1 or 2 or 3 days, probably going to want to just regroup and back away. So First Solar did something funny here. Oftentimes you guys will hear me say I don't like to see the price action break and close below the 20-day moving average. So you'll see a sell tag here. That was me actually getting out of my sim account, which is mirroring my real account, because I jumped in early and I didn't wait for the trigger, so I had to get out. I stood against my rules there, which is when it closes below that line, the momentum is probably broken. However, every now and then we've got this red line, which is the 20-day moving average, which kind of follows along as a backstop and held 2 days there of a good test on the 20-day. A nice candle there going into, I guess that was yesterday, and a beautiful move today. So it's laughing at me, it's looking back, and the golf gods are laughing at me, but that's okay. And the golf gods and the trading gods share the same office space. That's why I say that sometimes. Trading gods are looking back and laughing at me for not being in this, but I held my rules and I didn't get back in. But I wanted to really point out the fact that sometimes that 20-day moving average can act as a really nice secondary backstop. Mm-hmm. So if anybody had that move, more power to you. And I'm going to tie something together with First Solar in a minute when we talk about swing scalping. So we'll come back to that. But the trade of the week this week is Lennar, which is a home builder. And what I like to do is always go back. There we go. There's Friday's action going into the week. The kind of stuff that we normally do came again from our sec flag patterning. Started with, and then I went to, I knew there were some home builders, and they're like Toll Brothers is one of them. Okay, so I'll type in Toll Brothers. That was a pretty darn good. I passed on this, the rising 10. But remember here on our single stock window, I can take Toll Brothers and say, well, who's the similar cats to Toll Brothers? And as we something names.
Yeah, that is strange.
Very weird. So Lennar was derived necessarily from the top-down approaches, again, starting with the home builders being strong, looking at a list of all the home builders' names, and then settling on Lennar. Again, it had a nice touch of that 10-period moving average. We'll fast forward to yesterday. Triggered right on the open, very simple, easy trigger. And then we're just kind of lackluster, hanging right around the trigger zone here. No harm, no foul. Same kind of a setup as First Solar. I mean, I'm not going to want to see a close below the rising 10-day moving average, but if it is and you're a bit more aggressive and you don't want to get out as tightly as I did, you can try and see if it will bang off that 20 period. Hopefully we don't have to test that, but that is always an option for people. So that was the thinking. That was the reason. Again, top-down approach, starting with the sector. Home builders looked really good going into the weekend, and then going through a list of additional single names. And you're welcome to go back through that list on your own in the similar tab and see if you see anything else that's maybe coiling up and wedging. But the trade of the week is active, it's live, and we'll see if this thing can maybe push a little higher throughout the week. All right, so that is the trade of the week. Nothing really special this week. Let's see. What I want to do is, I want to talk about the style that Andy and I continually trade. And we actually coined it. I think Andy coined it, called it swing scalping. Because, as I mentioned, Andy and I started on the trading floor in '98 on direct access, which was a really, really big deal back then. Yeah, you had your orders and you could send the order to your broker, but what you really couldn't do was show up and actually represent yourself in the electronic auction. There's a new thing called electronic crossing networks. You had ECNs called Island, which was the first, and ARCA. You've heard of ARCA. That went on to be morphed into the New York. But that allowed us to come in and say, oh, the current bid for this stock AMAT's 25 1/4. Check it out. I'm going to go 25 5/16. Now I'm the best bid. Boom, I just got hit on the bid. I made the spread. Oh my God, now it's running. Now I can flip it out on the offer and sell it to somebody else. I just made half a point in 30 minutes. That's a lot of fun. But that's really hard to do these days because back then we were playing against other human beings, pushing buttons, reading information in real time, and we had fractions. Every waypoint was a nice little victory. And then we lost the fractions to decimals, and then we lost the market making to a fragmented market that we now would refer to as, payment for order flow, and it goes directly into the market making algos. Algorithms now run Bartertown, and once the algorithms took over about 2008, Andy and I had to kind of retool. And one of the things we retooled was taking that scalping focus of looking for a good entry and then participating in that move and then getting out when you can. But instead of a 30 or 45 minute time frame, we're doing it in a 2 to 3 day time frame, or I'm going to talk about in a minute with some examples maybe, is will be learned a day and a half is really the best move that you can get as a swing scalper. Now, not to be confused with a swing trader, somebody who might want to take a position and let it work for a few weeks, maybe a month. That's not really what we like to do. We kind of coined, the expression of surfing the market. We like to position, paddle, get in position. All right, take the wave, make a couple of cuts, and then bail out and paddle out for the next one. And after we get about maybe 8 to 10% move, you're going to be just asking for a pullback in the market. This market has a hard time going up more than 2 or 3 days in a row. But I'm going to give you an example. Let's see. These are examples that might be setting up to watch for tomorrow, okay? We're going to go back to First Solar. What I'm going to call First Solar is, I just recently coined this. Come on, Steve. I coined it Moving Day to take away from the PGA Tour. On Saturday, it's Moving Day when you advance from the field. Well, the field being the congestion, Moving Day is always a really nice green candle on the daily chart with a good long high to low range and a good volume spike. I'm going to call this day number 1. All right, I'm going to predict that tomorrow you're going to have a nice follow through, and you're going to probably wish, if you were positioned and you wanted to take profits as best and efficiently as you could, you're probably going to wish that you took profits before lunchtime East Coast. It just seems like after Moving Day, we get a little follow through, and then what happens is all the day traders and the short term people, they want to take that profit, and so do you. So unless you want to withstand a bit of a pullback and you want to just really try and time the market with a good jump rope, remember that a day and a half is a really good move. And as I'm talking, maybe Andy will have an example, but I'm going to say also GDX. Let's watch tomorrow for GDX. This is definitely, without a doubt, Moving Day. Big green candle, closing on highs. I forgot to mention closing on highs is important to hopefully bring some follow through into tomorrow. Great volume bar. Might be wise if you're long GDX to maybe let the market open, gap up, and then start thinking about selling an hour after the open, maybe even sooner if you're one that really wants to take control. And that's what we're calling swing scalping. We're taking these daily candles and we're kind of applying what we used to do back in the late 90s as a scalper on a 5-minute or a 15-minute chart. And one more I'll give you, which is the silver stock. I think pause. I'm going to go ahead and predict pause is probably a great sell tomorrow if you're long this thing. And I am, but I'm not going to get out. I think the move is bigger. But if I was swing scalping this trade, I would count today as day 1 and any kind of type of gap up or a little bit of movement higher. And it's time to start thinking about being that seller, because it just seems like a day and a half is really all you get sometimes when you do wind up getting your move. And so that's swing scalping. It's been performing very well. Both thankfully now we can take a portion of our 401k here at Trade Ideas and we can actually trade it that way. We also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we kind of coined this in 2010 when we were the lead traders of a service called Ditto Trade, where people could log in, open an account at the brokerage that we had, which was a Ditto Trade brokerage, and all the illegal mumbo jumbo was taken care of behind the scenes. And it was literally the entree to auto trading, except people weren't auto trading AI Holly, they were auto trading Steve and Andy. Every time we pushed a button for maybe a 10% allocation in a trade, everybody else got the same fill. We all got one big block fill together. And so it was a really cool concept. It's kind of a shame it didn't get off the ground, but everybody's kind of moved on since then. But we used that opportunity because it was really nice to try and take profits when we could, not to try and get a bunch of emails asking us, hey man, why didn't you take profits when that thing was up 10%, So a lot of reasons came to be for the swing scalping technique. WB is asking, is there a scanner for this scalping technique? Well, there is. I'm going to go through a few scans here. Basically, the A table is one that looks for some of these, but I have to find my own consolidation. There's a bull flag scan setup that sometimes I will use that Andy has created, but we're just looking for that consolidation to position, and this is the key. We want to anticipate, and then we want to anticipate, participate, and then position ourselves, anticipate, and participate. Yes, a 3-step prong there. So the idea is really, you don't want to hang on too long. When you get your green move the next day, at least sell half. See if that starts to work for you. If you're a swing trader and you want to start maybe tightening it up a little bit, we call it swing scalping, and it's probably the best method that has been working for us as of late. You want to add anything on the swing scalping technique, Andy, since you were the one that actually coined it?
No, it worked well for us, and it still works well for us. It's just when you were a day trader as long as we were, then all of a sudden you try to move to that different time frame. It makes it a lot easier, than trying to hold on to a trade, especially when the market now in a market like we have right now, yeah, you can hold on to trades for weeks and sometimes months and do very well, but we all know that this is not going to last forever, and when it does start to get rough and choppy, you can look for these setups, and like Steve is saying, you may get 1.5 to 3 days out of it, and then bang it out, and then you got your capital back, and you can go look for the next wave. So it's as a matter of fact, I think more people should probably do this than day trade, just because you're in and out so fast that you're not tying up as much capital as you think. And it's amazing if you have a small account how much you can actually make by doing this method, and it's a lot less stressful than sitting there trying to jump in 3,000 to 5,000 of something and ride it for 15 to 20 cents and fighting all the high frequency traders. So it's a good method.
Yeah, WB, I would say it's really important to have a nice green candle that is definitely longer than all the little ones you see down here. I mean, these are some small range candles, a lot of dojis, a lot of narrow ranges, but this one just stands out, and it's important to have a big, long range that closes on highs, but more importantly, stands out from the rest. First Solar, again, was a great example of that. You can just see that candle really does stand. This candle's also stands out, but coming out of consolidation is what we're looking for.
Now, I think I don't want them to get confused here, thinking that you're recommending them buying this stock tomorrow.
No,
I think he's trying to give you an example. Yeah, just watch it to see what it does. Don't watch it to buy it. I mean, you can, but we're not telling you not to. But I would like to have caught that, First Solar this morning. As a matter of fact, I would have if I wasn't tied up in a chat at the time. I was kind of mad, but oh well.
I saw that. Yeah, Dave has asked the question, well, will Holly be programmed to do this kind of stuff? Well, this is really my and Andy's own method, but however, AI is being programmed and the server architecture is being built out to try and start doing some machine learning overnight for longer day holds. It requires a big architecture change, and that is the idea, and we are working towards that, so yeah. All right, so yeah, swing scalping, that's just a concept, and that's what works for us. So what I want to do now is I want to go through, and again, a table is where you might find some of these setups to position yourself and then anticipate and hopefully participate on moving day. And I'm going to find a few stocks here, and we're going to set alerts. And before I do that, I just want to remind people, last week we sent some alerts out, like I'm going to do again today. APT was one that worked, and I don't know what happened to it today, but nonetheless, it did create some value. Wayfair was the big winner. I mean, this one is putting my day and a half model to shame, only because I think it's a giant short squeeze, but look at the movement that came out of consolidation there. Very nice, and that was given out before that breakout, so we spotted that for you guys. CWH looks like it just recently triggered, but not doing much. New York Times, not really a big mover, but moving through that level. What was that? The GBX moved up and then moved down. Sale, we're going to revisit that one. So I'm going to wipe this clean, and we're going to reset some new ones. And what I'll do is, as I go through these now, maybe if somebody wants to put a couple of charts in there, we can take a look at 3 or 4 after I finish setting some of these alerts. We're going to start on the A table. I'm not going to go through it. I've just already highlighted the ones I want to do, and they've all been derived from the A table here. So the first one is lumber liquidators. Look at that. That's what we're looking for, guys. Yes, it's had a big move. I wouldn't like to see just this much of a move, but I feel like there could be a lot more meat on the bone. However, I did just notice we've got August 5th during market hours. Well, let's not mark this one up. Let's just, we're going to mark it up anyway because it could trigger during market hours, as it says it's going to report during market hours. So we are going to mark this one up. It's just a beautiful flagging pattern that we cannot, we can't.
That's really strange that companies still, do earnings during live market hours.
I've seen a lot more companies doing during market hours. We'll see how that plays out.
Okay.
Next one, and again, this is also, it's a pharmacy name, but boy, I sure like the way it's really starting to try. Oh boy, look at this thing after.
Looks like that had earnings, huh? You lost your audio.
My knuckle hit the mute button. Yeah, it looks like it had earnings there, so we're gonna have to pass on that one. I'm sorry. AC Healthcare. Also, you know, it's not super defined, but it's good enough for me. A lot of choppy 5 days of back and forth, and this moving average looks like it's trying to force the issue. We'll just take and mark up a high above that. All right, that one's in. Continuing on the A table. Woo, I kind of like the way this one ended. Now it's a bit premature and it hasn't touched yet. We could go two ways on this one. We could do a pullback alert and try and eyeball where it might pull back and touch and make that feel. I think that I want to do that. I would like to do that. So that gives us a really interesting, because the reason I want to do that is not to wait for the breakout, because we're waiting for the herd to chase the herd. I'd like to start again focusing on when to alert you guys when it's touching a moving average. So I'm going to kind of eyeball this one, call it close enough, but maybe if that one pulls back into that general area, we might be also touching the 10-day moving average. The entry for Lennar was already in there, Kyle. It was yesterday at 73.07. All right, the last one is Bell, BLL, from this A table. And this one's also, it's not so much of a wedge, but it's really threatening here. And I think if it can post a move above there, there might be a bit of a move. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one, the washout bounce, which looks for like some long tails that may be washed out. There we go. You can see that nice hammer candle below the 200-day popped right back up. Really liked the way that one kind of ran the stops there. So I'm going to put a alert right above today's high. And there's one more on there, Herbalife. Herbalife's really nice, taking its time, but I think there might be something that we don't want to lose track of if it gets above those little goalposts there. We will be alerted all at the same moment if that happens. Got two more for you, and they're from the jam down by, which is very similar to the A table and what we were trying to do with Woo. Okay, we're trying to eyeball that one. Well, this one gives us a few ideas, and the other one, the first one I should say, over from last week, the sale keeps. We will be notified pattern. All right, so pending the alert goes off, maybe you decide to participate. So we'll see how those work out. Before I forget, I'll pull them up and we'll
share it with you too.
Yeah,
Steve.
okay, I forgot to A.
CE.
Oh, CE.
Yeah. So you got aluminum right here that's been on a tear lately, and take a look at the chart in Alcoa, just poking up against a triple top right here. If you draw that line at the top, almost perfect. So yeah, if it takes out to today's high, I think and plus you don't have it on there, but the 200 days right above that too. So
it's there.
Be one to watch. Oh,
it's
your 200 doesn't look like mine. That may be a.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, you got
Somehow
176.
I got changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of us was wrong.
There we go. There you go.
go.
So it's right below it. So one to watch out for. And I don't know about this one. It's one that you was a trade of the week at one time, but the SPWH is kind of setting up again.
Yeah,
I think you probably like that one. Yeah, a little bit there, but yeah, I just mark it up. Right there you go.
Right, here's what I'm going to do. Since I noticed that I had an error in my chart, it's probably in my settings, so I got to save my layout and just overwrite that and make sure we don't have that again. All right, yeah, 176. I don't know how the hell that got in there. All right, guys. Anybody want to look at any charts? I'll take a look at the questions panel here. See if anybody had any chart requests they want to look at. Any opinion on AMD? I know what that's going to look like. AMD is you just can't stop that thing. It's riding its 5-day moving average. If I were to overlay a 5-day on that, coming into today, it would have made a lot of sense. Maybe why it probably. Let's just do it. Let's just for the sake of it, because I can guarantee you it's exactly what it's going to look like. Sometimes these charts that just are so strong, they don't even want to get anywhere near their 10-period moving average. Come on. I'm totally freezing up here. All right, so let's change that 10 to a 5, and I think it'll be very clear. Look at that. Coming into yesterday, it was just doesn't even want to touch its 5-day. It was riding the 5-day all along. This thing has been riding that 5-day moving average extremely strong. Probably very similar to what silver was doing. All right, let me change that back. So, do you buy it here? No, I don't think you buy AMD here. AMD's probably going to have that day and a half move where the sellers are going to jump in probably after a pretty good opening tomorrow. And TSM was another one they were asking about. This I like. I like this one a lot more. Taiwan Semi, obviously the semis are hot. Definitely a good close. It looks like it doesn't even want to play around with that. Let's go ahead and mark that up and add that to our list. That's a good call. We will all participate in that one. What about Square? You know, Square is just drifting higher. Looks nice. It took out that level. It's just probably waiting for a move back to the moving averages. Again, I'd rather see these 5 days going sideways than drifting higher because they're just asking for a pullback. Entry is breaking high of yesterday for AMD. Well, again, I don't know if I'm not saying enter AMD here because this thing's had quite a move and there's a lot of space there. Today was a very solid move, but you know, I'm not saying this is the kind of thing I would want to enter. I'm saying if it was something I was stalking yesterday, could have been interesting, but that's been a high mover. For the ones that I like, yeah, I think yesterday's high. If you're doing, Kyle, if you're doing like a wedge break or a pennant or a flag, I like to go maybe back 1 day just for a little extra confirmation. I think I know what you're getting at there. All right, so last one for Todd. Again, it's going to be another semiconductor. Then we'll bring Scott in for announcements here. Micron. Okay, so Micron has not been able to play the game yet of semiconductors.
Oh, that's sloppy.
Yeah, it's really sloppy. But that's not to say that NVIDIA and AMD and some of these other ones might not sneak in and start to bring some attention to it. So I'm not going to mark it up, but you could keep your eye on it. You could certainly keep your eye on it. APRO, if somebody's ARPO, that makes a lot more sense. Pharmaceutical, you know, good luck. It's riding its 50-day moving average. Not a bad entry here.
Trading up to 212 in after hours, though.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, interesting. So I don't know what's going on there. All right, you guys, I'm all spent out. Tuesday's a lot of talking for me, so I'm going to go ahead and say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions, and I'll bring in Scott here for some final announcements. Scott.
Yeah, thank you. A couple things on the way out. There's a great new ebook. It's been out for a little while, but if you don't have it, grab it because we're approaching another earnings season. So it's got strategies to help you succeed and take that to your advantage. Trade-ideas.com/earnings is where to go to get it. It's free. Just plug in your email address, get that download. There's a podcast. Search for Trade Ideas Podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Add us as a subscription and surf through some of the more recent interviews that we published over this year. It's
1 sec, Scott. While you're talking, I'm going to go ahead and share out my alerts. The people are very wise. They did not. I did not share my price alert, so I will do that while you keep talking.
Yeah, drop that in the chat.
Yep.
And there's a code. You can use the code summertime to save 15% off your first month or year of any Trade Ideas subscription or upgrade. So go ahead and write that down. Take advantage of it before we change it to a new one. You can follow Steve. He's on Twitter at TodayTrader. Also follow our Trade Ideas account, and Facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro is the page on Facebook to like. Send all your questions to our info@trade-ideas.com email address. That's got goes to our help desk software, gives you answers to all your questions. All right, thanks everyone. We're going to have that recording up later on tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, and I dropped that cloud link in the chat window, so you got about 5 or 10 seconds to click into that chat window and get the cloud link for the price alerts that I shared. Thank you all for reminding me of that.
Yeah, and if anyone missed it, just go ahead and email info@TradeIdeas, and we'll hook you up. All right, thanks everyone. We'll have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow. Have a good one.
See you next time.